So I'm always thinking about problems. And my favorite type of problems are good problems, right? Problems that are actually good to have. Like having a lot of money is a good problem to have. Being retired and saying, hey, I'm 65 years old, I have a bunch of money. Like, what do I do with it? That's a good problem, okay? I have a lot of free time. That's a good problem. So overall, there is this question that I have been pondering after I'm actually reading this book right now called How to Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. And the overall idea of that book is, well, how do you ensure, right, that, yeah, you have people that you're going to give money to, like your beneficiaries, like your kids and people that are your family, you know, your church, charity, and all this other stuff, okay? But how do you make sure that your money, the money you set aside for yourself in your retirement age, okay? How do you make sure that when you actually close your eyes and you actually pass away, that you actually leave behind absolutely $0? Right? And that's actually a good problem, but it also comes with a not so good problem that might actually cause a bad result. Now, as always, guys, like this video and top out also subscribe. Now, the overall idea is, guys, there's something called mortality risk and something called longevity risk, okay? And there's also something called, for example, the standard lifespan of a person. Now, overall, there is no way that I can predict how long I'm going to live. I can make all my plans, but only God knows, and we know that. And on top of that, the longevity risk is basically that if you live like you're not going to die and you spend all your money and then you end up outliving your money, then you have a problem because now you're working at Walmart, being a greeter, and you don't want that. But there's also the mortality risk, right? And that mortality risk is basically, well, you actually die before you can even enjoy your money in the first place. But that's something that you can't control whatsoever, and that's why you have, for example, life insurance policies to make sure that if something happens and you have to take care of your family, you actually have a policy to take care of them in case something like that actually takes place. But overall, we're talking about here longevity risk. How do I make sure that when I pass away, I actually pass away with absolutely $0? And the actual scare is, like I mentioned before, is, well, if I spend too much, I might be in trouble. And there is this great story that I don't know that well, but I'll try to actually say, I hope I don't butcher it, but it's actually about the ant and the grasshopper. The ant spent, for example, his time actually doing all the work he needed to do, while the grasshopper basically just went ahead and did whatever he wanted. And when the winter came, the ant had food, the grasshopper didn't. Grasshopper died, the ant actually lived. But it doesn't stop there. If you're the ant and all you worry about is having money, well, you won't actually get to enjoy it. And if you're the grasshopper and all you worry about is basically spending money, then you actually will not be responsible and you will basically run out of money before you can actually blink. And you don't want that. So you want to have like a balance between both. You want to be responsible, but also be able to enjoy your money. Now, again, I want to make sure you understand. The money I'm talking about is not the money that you're going to leave to your church or the money that you're going to leave to your family or charity. That's separate. I'm talking about the money you have for yourself in retirement. And the overall goal is you want to get the maximum enjoyment possible from that money, whether it's to travel or to do whatever you actually want to do with it. The goal is to actually die with $0. So how can you actually do this, okay? How do you do this without being scared of running out of money? Now, one solution is this. If I get to retirement age and I have a good chunk of money, my last and final investment will potentially be an annuity. Not as an investment, but actually as an insurance policy. But I say as an investment because it'll give me, for example, peace of mind in a sense, right? But it's not really an investment where you say, I preserve my capital, it increases over time at a good rate. That's not what an annuity actually is going to be here. But an annuity overall is you entering into a contract with an insurance company and you're agreeing to pay them either a lump sum or a series of payments, and in exchange, they're going to give you a lump sum or a series of payments. And you might say, well, how do they make money, Tommy? Well, the idea is if I give them a lump sum of $1 million and they pay out $5,000 every single month, right? And I only live 5 years, they only paid out like $300,000 and they get to keep the rest. That's pretty cool for them, right? Sometimes they actually pass on those payments to your spouse or your beneficiaries. But if I give them $1 million, they have $1 million right now to make 100K or 120K a year, no problem, right? From just basic low risk investments. That's the idea. That's how they make money. They make money by looking at other investments to actually use with your money and making money from that. And also the fees, the premiums, and everything else, okay? That's how they make money. That's why they're in business. That's why they work so good. And they're very good at understanding the mortality risk of people and the lifespan of people. And they also have a lot of people paying into these insurance plans. So basically, they have a pool of money to actually make sure when things don't go right, they can basically have those people covered in a way. So when I go ahead and I actually make this last investment, the idea is I would actually buy an annuity. Now, buying an annuity is going to guarantee for me a fixed amount of income every single month, no matter what. Now, this is actually called a immediate annuity because I would only do it at the end of my retirement age. Like I'm 65 years old. I don't have that much like strength or health to actually go out there and make a bunch of income anymore, right? So I would say I want an immediate annuity. I'm going to give you guys a lump sum in exchange for a series of payments until I basically pass away. That would be my last investment. But in this sense, what do I get out of it? I get a guarantee that my income is never going to fall below that certain point, okay? Now, you might say, Tommy, who else is this for? And does this actually make sense? The idea is, no, it's not a good investment. It doesn't make sense, but it gives you a lot of peace of mind. And here's why it doesn't make sense. Because if you have $1 million and you take out, let's say, 5%, that's $50K a year that you can actually take out. Or like $40K a year if you do 4%. And the idea is the only way you run out of money is if you have like a massive like market crash. But then even if that happens, right, you can basically make that money last like 33 years. But the problem is based on a percentage, meaning your monthly income is going to vary year to year. Sometimes it might be a lot more. Sometimes it might be a lot less, and it could actually be a lot less for a very long time. So that's where the annuity comes in. It comes in to subsidize that risk when things don't go that great in the market. So my point is I won't put all my money into an annuity because that would be a terrible idea, but I would put a portion of my money in my annuity to basically subsidize that entire part, okay? So if I have expenses of $2,500 and I can give them, for example, $250,000 to guarantee me $1,000 per month no matter what, and I can grab my other portion to actually make me $2,500 a month, right, for my investments, right, then that's like $3,500. So if I have a massive drop in my investments and they only make me, for example, $1,500, well, I still have $1,000 here, it's still $2,500, I can still cover my basics without having to be that worried. That's the overall idea of the only reason I would actually get an annuity. Now, there are different types of annuities, and I have a video on that too. You have, for example, fixed annuities, variable annuities, immediate annuities. You also have like deferred annuities. There are a lot, and there are also a lot of different products, like over 13 different products, different clauses. And you have, for example, the idea of running the risk, surrender charges, which is basically if you agree to pay these people a series of payments, right, and you try to take the money out and break that, well, they will actually have a massive fee. There is a bunch of information that you actually need to know before you enter into an annuity. But to summarize it here in a very simple way, an annuity is not an investment, it is an insurance policy. And I would only do it if you worry about basically your income going below a certain point. And I wouldn't put all my money into it. And I would only do it once I get to 65 years old. Now, let's say I get to 65 years old. Again, the goal would be to have a paid off home, to have no debt, to have, for example, my basic stuff basically covered. Now, if I get to that age and I have a substantial amount of money, I probably wouldn't do it because I don't have to worry about it, right? If I have a massive surplus of money, that's great stuff. Don't got to worry about it. But if I get to a certain age and I'm like, hey, I'm actually worried about the amount of money I have and I want to guarantee a certain amount of money to come in no matter what, right? Then that's something I would actually consider. That's the overall idea of why I would actually do an annuity. Now, overall, this brings a massive pro. The pro is you can spend a lot more without having to worry that much because you have a guaranteed amount of money coming in. So it makes it easier so you can spend and get to that zero number once you actually pass away without having to be that worried. Now, there's actually a con, and the con is that money you gave them, that series of payments, could have been worth a lot more in your investments if you had taken that risk. But again, it's not an investment. It's an insurance policy. So that shouldn't really be in your mind when you're thinking about this, guys. Okay, so it's a fun idea. I want you guys to think about it, consider it, do more information about it. I'll make more videos about it because that's pretty interesting. I'll probably get me a few books on annuities or 1 or 2 books on annuities and make even more videos on it, because although it's a boring subject, it is an interesting one. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Comment down below I made it, so I know you made it all the way to the end of this video. On top of that, up here is another video. Over here's my face. Subscribe, and as always, long-term team officially out.